Hey folks, welcome back to the Lone Pine Tarot. For today's pick a card reading, we're delving into a topic I haven't done too much before. I think I have one or two videos on my channel, but I thought why not add at least one more on our journey so far, which as you can see by the title below is a message from your ancestors. What do they want to say to you? So we'll be tapping into some ancestral energy today. We'll try to identify who they are, or generally at least some sort of traits, to give you a hint as to who is reaching forward out to you today, and then we'll dive into their actual message. So without further ado, let us pick our piles. We're picking with tarot decks today, with the Ten of Pentacles or wheels from each one, which is the card of legacy, because, well, we're talking about family today, right? So over here for my pile number ones on the left, we have the Ten of Coins from the Tarot of the Divine. For my pile number two is we have the Ten of Wheels from the Tarot of the Golden Wheel. And for my pile number three is we have the Ten of Pentacles from the Wild Reflections Tarot. So just to reiterate, pile one's Tarot of the Divine, pile two's Tarot of the Golden Wheel, and pile three's Wild Reflections Tarot. As always, feel free to meditate on these piles, see which one calls the most to you, or maybe potentially get called to more than one. That's okay too. Either way, though, whenever you are ready and you've decided, drop down to the description box below and or the top pinned comment beneath the reading. Click on the timestamp for your reading there, and I will see you in our discussion about a message from your ancestors and what they want to say to you. Bye. Hello there, my beautiful pile number ones. Welcome to your pick a card reading today on the topic of a message from your ancestors, tapping into their energy and also seeing what it is they want to say to you. As you recall, your pile leader you chose was the Ten of Pentacles or Coins from the Tarot of the Divine. And as always, when we pick with tarot decks, I like to put the card right back into the deck and shuffle right away so that, of course, it is available for the message should it be required. So we'll set your oracle cards over here and we'll draw the tarot cards on screen right now. So there we are. Ancestors reaching out to my pile number ones. Could you give me 5 cards, please, that explain more about what it is you want to talk to them about, please? Thank you. 5 cards for their highest best good for pile number ones. Okay, that one already I feel like kind of wanted to pop out, so we're going to draw that one. And then that one for sure as well, number 2. 3 more. Number 3. Number 4. Number 5. Okay. We have all of our cards required for the message, or that we asked for at least. Let's reveal them now. So, of course, let's look over the oracle cards first. Now, these first two will try to glean more about who this ancestor is that's reaching out to you. So, from the Citadel Oracle today, we received the Hound. Loyalty, chains, promises. Okay, so this could have been someone who was affiliated with dogs. Perhaps they liked having pet dogs, or they had a name similar to a canine type name. Like it could have been like, I know wolf is a common surname that people have, at least in like European cultures. It could have been someone who struggled with some issues in their life with loyalty and promises, keeping them versus breaking them. Could have been someone who just had a lot of dogs. We'll see more as the other cards come out, but for sure right away that's what's popping out with this card. The Hound, loyalty, chains, and promises. Also, too, it has this particular deck has elemental associations, and the blank upwards triangle is fire from alchemical symbols. So that tends to be either, could have been someone with a fire sign. It could have been also someone with just more of a fiery, passionate personality, just a lot of like fiery energy in their personality. Someone with a lot of willpower, maybe even they were charismatic, things like that. And then from the Archetypes cards, you received Networker. Okay, Light attributes: enhances unity through sharing of information, engenders social awareness and empathy. Shadow attributes: conveys information only for personal gain, spreads fear and falsehoods. So another aspect of this ancestor reaching out to you, pile number 1, it seems like there's somebody who either wrote a lot or texted a lot if they were alive during the time, of course, we like modern technology. Wrote letters a lot, wrote emails a lot, like I said, once again, depending on technology available. Someone who, it could have also been someone who was like a pillar of their community in terms of, or their family at least, in terms of communicating a lot, networking people, bringing people together, things like that. Someone who has a lot of, I know we talked about fire before with the Hound, but this gives me a lot of like air element energy, like, you know, I'm thinking like a Gemini, especially with the communication. Someone with a lot of fire and a lot of air here with networker. Someone who shares information. Maybe they even worked with information. Could have been they worked in like, in modern day, let's say if they were alive, it could have been literally they worked with like networking, as in like IT. Okay. Or it could have been their job was just like networking people together. Could have been, I know, like secretaries or office assistants. A lot of their job is making sure information gets the right place, or like they manage like calendars, things like that. So those types of jobs, if that kind of makes sense, pile number 1. So those are the vibes so far I'm getting from at least the archetypes cards from this person, this ancestor reaching out. Yeah, and then of course we'll see the tarot cards as well, and then these two are more about their actual message, so let's reveal those now, and then we'll get the tarot cards out as well. So from the Ask Your Guides Oracle, the message is solitude. So a little bit of hermit vibes from, well, the hermit card and tarot a little bit. Solitude, being alone, thinking internally, reflecting internally. Interesting. And then last but not least, we have the Vintage Wisdom Oracle. Today you received Sanctuary. Okay, which kind of goes along with the solitude vibe, right? Sanctuary, solitude. Okay, so the message is something to do about like time you spend with other people or time you spend on yourself, it feels like. I'm getting an intuitive message here that it's something to do with the reason why this ancestor in particular is the one reaching out to you is because in their life they didn't take enough solitude or time for themselves. Okay, I think it might have been connected to like their work or whatever their job was, that, or their hobbies or pastimes where they reached out a lot to people. It was like they had a lot of like that fiery, airy energy of passion and communication, but that was the pro side of it, but the con side of it was that they didn't really take enough time for themselves, and I feel like that's kind of why they're reaching out to you specifically, pile number 1s. But let's reveal your tarot cards before I get too deep in the weeds, right? First up, we have the Four of Wands reversed. Okay, something about a lack of celebration or feeling like a lack of happiness in some area, feeling like a lack of happiness at home sometimes this can mean. Yeah. Number 2, we have the Six of Pentacles reversed. A lack of fairness in something, a lack of equal distribution. Yeah, I feel like, I don't want to say it because the cards aren't out, but I feel like, yeah, there's something to do with your energy exchange here, pile number 1s, okay? Especially in terms of solitude versus helping other people. Emperor is about authority and establishing boundaries and masculine energies. Then we have number 4, the Page of Swords, exploring a new way of thinking. Okay, a lot new way of thought. They're the apprentices of their suit, so they're doing a lot of learning and exploring, right? And last but not least, we have the Seven of Pentacles. Okay, Seven of Pentacles is about planting seeds for the future. So let's see if I can see any other themes here to glean who this person is that's reaching out. I know we talked about there's someone either who is like associated with dogs or had a lot of themes of like loyalty and promises and breaking chains in their life. Hence the Citadel Oracle here too. And then we talked about all like the networking aspects of this person. But I want to see if there's any other themes here. I'm not feeling a particular gender here with this person. Although you do have the Emperor here, and the Emperor is masculine energy, but that doesn't necessarily mean like a man versus a woman. It can mean a man, it can also be a woman that has a lot of masculine energy, so. And then in terms of elemental associations here, let's see, fire, earth, fire, air, earth, okay. Definitely. And solitude, yeah. Sorry, there's a little bit of silence here. I'm just making sure I'm getting the message correct here. So, yeah, like I was saying before, pile number ones, when I was getting a little bit into the weeds when all the cards weren't out yet. Like I said, I feel like the message that this particular ancestor wants to reach out to you with is one that reflects something that they struggled with in their own life. I get the feeling that they had issues in their life path regarding how much energy they shared with others and how much energy that they reserved for themselves. I feel like they tended to be more of the go-getter type, more of the very involved type. And there's a lot of benefit to that because I feel like it made them, like I was saying, a pillar of their community or at least their family. It made them someone who was reliable, someone who people could always count on, someone who people always knew to turn to get like the latest news or to kind of know what was going on because they were such an active, fiery, airy type energy. Okay. And so, like I said, I feel like I'm not getting a specific gender. I'm leaning masculine, but that could either mean it was a man ancestor or is a man ancestor reaching out, or it's a female ancestor that has masculine energy. It could have been a feminine figure who did not present as very feminine. It could have been they presented more like masculine, both. It could be in appearance and it could also be in terms of like their personality, like the more that reflects that kind of go-getter energy I was just talking about, that more authoritative, out there kind of in people's faces in a good way, not in a bad way, but that type of feeling. But the issue they struggled with in their life, I feel like, was that the imagery I'm getting is, I can't remember what it's called. Is it called pull apart bread? I know this is really weird. I'm talking about bread, but it's like pull apart bread where, you set it in the middle and people can just like take a piece out of it, right? And I feel like that's how they felt in their life sometimes, was they were the piece of bread laying on the table and like everybody would just walk by and grab a piece. They were very... From a positive perspective, they were, yes, that reliable person people could come to, but from a negative perspective, they almost gave too much of themselves away. And that's why they're reaching out to you today, pile number ones, is because they want to say to you, learn from what I didn't, or from what I struggled with in my life. Because you have a lot of cards about the theme of solitude and sanctuary, about protecting yourself. Especially I'm really drawn to with the solitude card here. She has her arms wrapped around a figure in the middle here, like she's almost kind of protecting a boundary around herself, and then being centralized, it's like almost protecting your own heart. I think too, this ancestor of yours, because of the message from the Hound, which is about loyalty, chains, and promises, I feel like it could have even been that sometimes they weren't just, people took too much from them. I feel like sometimes it even got to the point where people betrayed them because people would, I don't want to say that they were a doormat, pile number ones, because I do get a lot of that fiery, masculine, authoritative energy. I think, however, they did let people take too much, and people sometimes betrayed them in the end. It could have been they had a best friend that betrayed them, or maybe a partner that betrayed them, maybe even, their own family kind of betrayed them at one point. And so there was something about like a promise broken, something about loyalty being in question. I also, for some reason, am seeing that they were more of an outdoorsy person. I feel like I see a lot about being outdoors. Either they lived rural or they were, one of their hobbies involved being outdoors a lot, okay? That's another message that's coming through. But yes, sorry, back to the actual message that they're trying to convey to you. Sometimes, things about them come through spontaneously and some things about the message come through. But back to the message. They're telling you here, okay, Be careful, pile number ones, about how much you share your energy. Be careful about your boundaries, and be careful about cultivating internally a sense of peace and a sense of, this is my fortress right here, my little central area where it's almost like cultivating a little space for yourself internally where you say, okay, yes, I'll help these other people, or I'll do this extra thing at work, but I'm not going to sacrifice myself so much that I let my walls down and everybody just trample all over me. And I think, like I said, that was a reflection of their life, and that's why they're reaching out to you, especially because you have the Four of Wands reversed here at the beginning of your tarot cards, okay? The Four of Wands reversed is a lot about unhappiness at the home, unhappiness in terms of feeling like we're not satisfied with, like, something doesn't feel celebratory. It's like the joy of sharing has been kind of stolen from you because I feel like you share too much, or like people take too much. I shouldn't really say, yeah, it's more like I feel like people try to take too much from you, pile number ones. And so what that leads to is that Six of Pentacles reversed here, which is a lack of fairness, okay? Because this depiction of the Six of Pentacles, she's trying to distribute these coins equally to the different bugs, to the different beetles, I think they are technically. But reversed, it's the opposite of that, where it's an unfairness. There's something unfair to you. I feel like people don't give you enough. I feel like you give too much, just like your ancestor did. And so they're saying to you, pile number ones, hey, the past here is an energy of, okay, I'm unhappy. I feel like something is not, something has had the joy ripped out of it, which, because sharing should be something joyful. We should feel good when we share with others and do things for others and be good to others because, I feel like that, at least for you, pile number ones, it's like an integral part of your personality, just like it was for your ancestor. But the issue is that unhappiness here and that lack of fairness, okay? Because sometimes there's people in life that just take too much and they just don't know when to stop taking. It's like that pull apart bread where they just keep taking a piece until there's nothing left for yourself or anyone else. And so that's reflected in, or at least the energy that they are suggesting that you embody is reflected here in the masculine with the Emperor as the central card here. Technically, this is a depiction of King Arthur, I believe, but yes, so embody that masculine energy like they did, okay? Embody the masculine energy of the Emperor, where the Emperor says, okay, I am a protective being. I am an authoritative being. I am a being of logic and structure. I build boundaries and I categorize things, okay? It's very much the opposite of the feminine energy of the Empress, where, feminine energy is all about, nurturing and creation, and it's not about defining, it's about creation. But the Emperor is about protecting and defining, okay, like I said. And so where that leads us is back to that idea of creating that fortress for yourself, that boundary, more so around yourself, being willing to have a sword and put it down in front of you, like, I believe that's technically Excalibur there, because I think it's King Arthur, right? And putting the sword in front of you and saying, hey, this is my boundary. Nobody walks past this boundary, because unfortunately, it feels like right now, based on what your ancestor is saying to you, that people maybe kind of walk over that boundary a little too much, and you need to say, hey, wait a minute, you got to keep off the grass here. Like, I have this boundary. You're not supposed to walk past this line in the sand, right? And they're recognizing that this is kind of a new way of thinking for you. I think this might have been something you've struggled with a lot in your life, especially with the Page of Swords reversed here. Or I'm sorry, upright. Page of Swords upright here in the near future. I feel like it might be kind of a struggle for you at first to really go through this, because for so long you've just been in that energy of give, let people walk all over me, or like they'll at least try to, right? Or maybe you've even recognized it and you're working on it right now, but you're kind of at a standstill of, okay, well, how do I, assert these boundaries, right? And so that's the Page of Swords, is they're the apprentice, they're the learner of their suit, and the swords is the element of air in tarot, which is the mind, okay? A new way of thinking, a new way of going about something, exploring it, being a student of a new way of thinking, okay? And so it might take a while for you to work through, well, how do I create this space of solitude and sanctuary for myself away from other people? But what they're saying right now here with the Seven of Pentacles at the end, like this is the card of planting seeds for the future. It's not at the point of fruition yet, and that also kind of emphasizes that, yeah, it might be a little bit of a struggle to get there. It's not going to be a walk in the park to just go from one day, you know, people trampling all over your daisies, and then the next day saying, hey, wait a minute, don't trample my daisies, right? Metaphorically speaking, right? But it's going to take a bit, but they're saying to plant the seeds right now, pile number ones, because it'll serve you better in the future if you learn to start emphasizing and putting down boundaries right now. Okay. We also have quite a bit of time left. I want to see if there's any other messages they want to share with you, pile number ones. So I'm going to pull my tarot deck out again. Ancestors of pile number ones, the ones represented by the networkers, the fiery, passionate, charismatic ones, the ones who shared a lot. Could you give me 3 more cards explaining maybe a secondary message you want to share with them? Please, thank you. 3 cards for their highest, best good. I know the reading technically said like 1 message from your ancestors, but if we've got extra time, why not do 2, right? So the world reversed is about feeling like something hasn't come to a curtain close yet. Something's not the end of something, okay. Then we have the 8 of Cups reversed, needing to emotionally move on from something, okay. And then the Page of Cups reversed, needing to explore our feelings more. Interesting. One moment. Apologies for the silence as I look over your cards here and take a drink. You know, they're also saying, pile number ones, there's an area of your life where recently you've been trying to close the door on it, but you're struggling in some areas with emotionally moving on from whatever it was. You know, it could be related to the initial message, but I'm getting the feeling for most of you this is something new, or not new, I should say, it's something different. It's like a separate message, right? And they're recognizing your struggle with the Page of Cups reversed there to really navigate your feelings around what this is that you're trying to close the door on. And I think that's why you have the 8 of Cups reversed, is because it's so difficult to really understand or get in touch with your feelings regarding this situation because it's painful, is what I'm hearing. Yeah, painful. And so they want to talk to you about that. Do you have a card of advice for pile number ones in this area? Just one, please. Thank you. What would you give them advice for in this area, Ancestor? Please, thank you. Okay, well, that one for sure is the prominent one. The Nine of Wands reversed. Okay, so the Nine of Wands reversed is the card of feeling like we want to give up. There's something where you feel defeated in this area of this door you're trying to close. Because this is the card of determination, normally upright, but reversed, it's like, oh man, I'm so tired. I just want to let go of this. I can't handle it anymore. But what your ancestor here is saying, whatever the situation is where you're trying to close a door and emotionally move on, is to not give up, okay? Even despite how difficult it might be right now, there's some benefit to keeping going with trying to emotionally distance yourself and close the door on whatever this area of your life is here that they're referring to, okay? Something where you're kind of confused emotionally, you're not sure if you should move on, something where you're like, I want to close the door, but it's really hard. They're telling you not to give up on that with that Nine of Wands reversed. However, that might apply to you as a general reading. Everyone's going to be a bit different as to what that means specifically, but yeah. And I think, too, maybe with the, hearing, too, with the Solitude and Sanctuary cards from earlier from your Oracle decks, it could help you to be a little bit more, I don't want to say isolated because that's a negative connotation, be a little bit more independent and introspective in the near future here, pile number ones, as you go through this situation, or 2 situations at hand. I feel like there's a lot of benefit in embodying what I call the energy of the Hermit in Tarot, which you did not receive today, but the Hermit in Tarot basically is the card of going within and going away from society a little bit to glean some truths and get to the kernel of what we actually feel deep down and some wisdom without the influence of others. So I think this would be a really great time in the near future here, pile number ones, if you were to maybe be a little bit more of a hermit, okay? Maybe even reflecting once again back to the life lessons of this ancestor that came through for you, where they were very fiery and communicative and outgoing type individuals, I feel like, but that burned them out a lot too. So I feel like they're kind of emphasizing, okay, you know, don't follow, do as I say and not as I do. Don't follow my example of always being, you know, on and outgoing and social all the time for everybody else. Sometimes you need to take a step back and have periods of solitude and silence to reflect and recuperate your own energy. And so that too, like, don't be afraid to take some time off if you can in the near future here, pile number ones. Don't be afraid to take some time for self-care. It's a lot about, it's not just manifesting boundaries, it's also about manifesting recuperating your own energy. I'm getting from this reading, okay? And yeah, just keeping going with that Nine of Wands reversed. And no, it's hard, and they're acknowledging that it's hard to set boundaries if you've struggled with that in the past, right? It's hard to take care of yourself and think about your own energy if you're so used to thinking of others. But they're saying, you know, it's like that old cliche saying of you can't fill other people's cups if yours is empty. You have to fill your own cup, and then you can fill other people's cups. So don't wear yourself so much to the bone, pile number ones, is what they're telling you. See if there's any other messages before I sign off with you today. Yeah. Planting seeds for the future. That's 7 of coins. Yeah, and there's something about learning this lesson now that will help you in the future with other things that are on your life path. They're telling you about with the 7 of Pentacles here at the end. There's something about where if you learn this lesson now, it's going to make something else easier in the future. It could be that's what this second message is referring to, about closing the door on something and emotionally moving on. Because when you're able to set boundaries, it's a lot easier to close doors behind you instead of letting them kind of waffle open and, you know, things get gray area and it's like, no, sometimes you just need to door slam and walk away. And that's kind of what this lesson is teaching you, pile number ones, okay? Yeah. And then too, something else came out with the dogs. If they did have dogs, pile number ones, I'm saying something about white dogs specifically. Like they had a white dog at one point or multiple white dogs. Yeah, something about white dogs. That's interesting. Impurity of loyalty. Okay, well, that's what I will leave you with, my lovely pile number ones. Thank you for tuning in to this channel and tuning into this reading, letting me read your ancestors' energy. I always love doing ancestor readings, so it's always a privilege to be able to make one for you, connect to them, right? I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next reading, pile number ones. Okay, bye. Hello there, my beautiful pile number twos. Welcome to your pick a card reading today on the topic of, well, tuning in with your ancestors and seeing what they want to say to you, what's most important for you to hear right now. As you recall, your pile leader you chose today was from the Tarot of the Golden Wheel. So, of course, as always, when I have us choose by tarot, we're going to put the card right back into the deck and shuffle. So we already picked your Oracle cards, and then I will draw your tarot cards on screen as is custom. There we go. So ancestors that want to reach out to pile number twos, could you give me 5 cards explaining more about what it is you want to talk to them about? The message, what do they need to hear? Thank you for their highest, best good. There we go. Okay, for sure that one's popping out. So there's one. Let's see. Number 2. 3. 4. And number 5. There we go. Get my ducks in a row. Let's reveal your cards. So the first 2 Oracle cards today are going to be more about who this ancestor is, or maybe multiple ancestors that want to reach out to you. And then the second set of Oracle cards is going to be more about what their actual message is, and then we'll convey and kind of tie everything in together at the end. So as for who they are from the Citadel Oracle, you received the Merchant. Okay, self-worth and trade. This particular symbol here is, I believe, Earth from the alchemical symbols. Could be someone who was an earth sign, someone who dealt with a lot of like earthly related things, hence the Merchant, because we think of, material wealth. Someone who could have been a business person, businessman, businesswoman, who worked a lot with trade and money. Okay, talk about that more in a second. From the Archetypes cards, you received the Exorcist. Interesting. Light attribute, freeing yourself and others of destructive impulses. Shadow attribute, fear of facing your own demons. Okay, so right off the bat with Exorcist, I get the sense that this is someone who could have been very like spiritual. Maybe, though, too, it could be representative of them having fought a lot of their own demons in their own life in terms of maybe vices that they had or fears that they had, things like that. Someone who had to fight a lot against destructive impulses, okay? And or helped other people fight against destructive impulses. Could have been, though, too, like I said, somebody who was actually very, in a literal way, like very spiritual and worked with spiritual work, in terms of, Exorcist, we think of someone who gets rid of demons, right? But negative entities, things like that. Someone more service-oriented in that way, I feel like. Let's see what else pops out here. Yeah, a lot of earth energy, too. Not just because of the alchemical symbol, but the meanings. So likely an earth sign. Or had a lot of earth in their chart. Yeah. Very grounded, though. Okay, and then from the other oracle cards, this is to tie more into the message they want to share from Ask Your Guides. You received freedom. Interesting. Runner guides. It's interesting because you have the card of freedom here, but then the Archetypes card talked about like freeing yourself from destructive impulses or freeing others from destructive impulses. So there's a bit of theme here about opening a cage, letting something fly, or freeing other people, it could be. From the Vintage Wisdom Oracle, we received today Strength. Okay. Strength, we have a figure that's almost like Atlas holding up the world around her, holding up the heavens, having to be strong, but doing so gracefully. And then let's look at your tarot cards, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the message. So first up, we have the Knight of Swords, taking action with the mind. So speaking our mind, taking a logical pursuit of something. Wheel of Fortune reversed, a bad turn of fortune, so the wheel going back down. Can mean bad karma, meaning literally reversed. Okay, third, we have the Six of Pentacles, or wheels. Fairness or charity, equal distribution. Then we have the King of Wands reversed. Okay, so the King of Wands reversed can either mean a lack of charisma or confidence in yourself, or it could also indicate someone who uses fire fire energy in a bad way. So someone who can temper is one manifestation of a negative King of Wands. Someone who has like temper issues, maybe had some anger issues, things like that. And then last but not least, it can also mean egotistical, because fire is also about the ego, right? Willpower. And then we have the Judgment card reversed, something about not being able to spiritually reflect on something, or some issues regarding moving forward on a spiritual path, or sometimes it's kind of like ascending, because we think of Judgment Day like, spirits rising, right? Or, angelic figure in this particular depiction. So what an interesting reading. I'm going to take just a second break here for just a moment to take a drink and look over your cards. I want to glean more about who they are. I know we talked about with your Archetypes card here that they're... I definitely get very earthy energy off this person. And I feel like they struggled a lot in their life, pile number 2. So I feel like they had a lot of issues regarding things that haunted them, like I was saying, like exercising their own demons. Either, I mean, I kind of say that more in a metaphorical way, where they had a lot of either their own destructive impulses, or they struggled a lot with others around them having destructive impulses, and it affected their life a lot. And so I almost get the sense, I feel like they could have been what we call technically like a screw up, and I don't want to say it that way because that's like a negative connotation, but that's kind of what I'm hearing in my head. Like, not that they were a bad person at all or anything, it's just that they were someone who, they struggled a lot. They had a lot of life lessons that they learned in their incarnation they're presenting as here, pile number twos. But I do get the sense of helpfulness. I do get the sense of self-sacrifice here with them. I get the sense that they had good business sense, you know, or at least they tried to get businesses off the ground, hence the merchant card, you know, self-worth and trade. Very earthy related energies here, but especially with the Wheel of Fortune reversed is, you know, someone with bad luck, someone who, the Six of Pentacles here in the middle is about, like, fairness, right? Someone with maybe a little bit of a temper, struggled with some spiritual issues, and, you know, it's almost like, I feel like they, yeah, sorry for a second of silence, I was just, I feel like they, it was like one long part of their life they were very not spiritual, and then another part of their life they were. It's like someone who really radically changed who they were in terms of their spirituality. Like, they went the complete opposite. Like, what I'm being shown in intuitively is, it was almost like someone who, like, grew up very unreligious, or grew up religious and then went the opposite way later on in their life because of their experiences. It's like the movement of, like, someone who was, you know, like a criminal street rat type archetype to someone who was like, ah, here are my spiritual lessons, I am wise now. Like, it's kind of that weird, very opposite path that they took in life. That's what I'm getting from this pile number two. So, yeah. And so I think later on in life they were able to help people because, yeah, self-sacrificial, very helpful, because they dealt with a lot of screw-ups themselves earlier in life. And it was sad because, yeah, so some people might have seen them as, like, a screw-up, quote-unquote, technically, but they actually, like, what was not emphasized enough was the actual strength that they had in having gone through what they had and come out better on the other side, is what I'm being told. So that's it, at least as far as what I'm picking up about who they are, pile number twos. Having had to endure a lot. It could have been even too, like, poverty earlier in life. And so I think it made them generous later. However, I think throughout their life, though, they still kind of struggled with some things regarding, you know, not just the King of Wands reversed being, like, you know, it could be lack of ego or ego issues, because we do have, like, in the Merchant, self-worth as well. Someone who had low self-esteem, didn't think much of themselves, right? Could have also had a little bit of a temper. And then also with Judgment reversed, someone who struggled with spiritual lessons throughout their life. It was a lot about, you know, doing the right thing, a lot about what's the spiritual thing to do versus what's the earthy thing to do, okay? And it's very interesting because it's that dichotomy between someone that's very earth-focused, but yet is really drawn to, like, airy spiritual things at the same time, and so it was, like, a lot of movement between those energies in their life. Apologies if you hear the kitty cat door scratching in the background. What is she doing over there? Oh, she's trying to get in, yeah. That's probably my cat magic. Apologies. She's like, where are my cuddles? Yeah, someone very earth and air. Spirit. Material. Okay. Things like that. So, the second part of this reading, though, is about what's their message to you, pile number twos, right? So, let me look over your cards here a little bit. So we have, let's see, taking action with the mind, bad luck, charity, and judgment. I think what they want to talk to you about, pile number 2, is there's some message here about where you feel trapped in some way in some area of your life. You feel kind of stuck somewhere. And I think part of the issue holding you back, at least the way that they're portraying this, is a lack of belief in yourself, especially because, and I see this a lot in ancestor readings. Oftentimes when a particular ancestor comes forward, pile number 2s, it's because there's a lesson in their life that they learned or at least struggled with that they want to convey and connect to you with that you're currently going through right now. And I'm seeing that with like this fear of I can't move forward or I can't break free from this or take this step because I feel like I lack the strength or the skills. And that ties into this ancestor's life where I feel like they felt like a screw up, quote unquote, a lot. They felt like they weren't worth anything, hence like the merchant self-worth. Maybe that's why they were kind of material focused at times in their life, because they thought, okay, well, if I manifest external worth, it'll make me worthy inside. But of course, as we all know, what you got isn't what you are. So that's kind of where they're coming from, or that was a lesson that they learned. And so they're talking to you about kind of a similar related thing of freeing yourself from the anchor weighing you down of low self-esteem or a lack of belief in self when it comes to achieving things in your life. That's the theme of what they want to talk to you about, okay? In terms of the way that your tarot cards have popped out here, I feel like the situation is related to, like you've recently had a spat of bad luck in your life, especially with that Wheel of Fortune reversed. And so you've had to rely on like charity a little bit more from others, especially with that 6 of Pentacles in the middle. However, it's like having come to this part of your life where you've been a little bit down on your luck or maybe even down emotionally. It could have manifested more in a intangible way rather than, it could have been money too, but it could have been an intangible thing as well. It knocked your confidence here. It knocked down your self-worth like we were talking about before, even though, it's like your spirit is ready to move forward on this path, but there's something holding you back in terms of your self-esteem. And so this ancestor is wanting to boost you up, to encourage you in this area of your life, to know that, you can open that cage and you can free yourself, like, freedom says right here. And you have the strength available to you and the skills needed to do whatever it is, this thing that you've been worried about in terms of bad luck recently, okay, pile number 2s. And I get the feeling, because you do have the King of Wands reversed here in the near future position, I feel like you're going to still struggle a little bit with like self-esteem related things here. It might even be something that kind of makes you angry. Something, especially next to the 6 of Pentacles, it's like an angry or well, I should say, is angriness a word? An anger, that's probably better. An anger at the fairness of things. An anger at why is the universe throwing me a bad bone, right? And so that's going to be like the struggle here in the near future, right? And so at the end here of the outcome with judgment reversed, it might shake your faith a little bit, because a lot of times when we go through hardships in life, just like this ancestor did, so this is where it connects right back, right? When we go through hardships in life, it can knock our faith, because we think, well, if there was a God or a being or a spirit or spirit guides, insert whatever your beliefs are here. I always, respect all on this channel, right? Whatever your beliefs are, when something goes wrong or it seems like life is throwing you a bad span of luck, it can shake your faith, because we think, well, how can something be looking out for me when things are going so dang wrong, okay? And that's what this person, this ancestor, struggled with in their life, was the same thing. How can there be a God? How can there be spirit guides, whatever, ancestors, people that care for me from the other side, when things can go so dang wrong, okay? And that was their struggle with spirituality, I feel like, that's now reflecting in your path in the near future here. These are the struggles they're highlighting to you. And I know that sounds like negative on the surface to have these 2 cards in the near future, but they're acknowledging that that's a struggle that you're going through that they also struggled with, okay? And that's why they're reaching out to you, like I said, okay? So like the other pile, I already did pile 1 today, of course. I asked additional questions because we do have some additional time here because I want to know more about, like, where is this going? Like, what's the solution to this issue? I wonder if they could tell us that. Okay, so Ancestor of pile number 2, could you give me 3 cards explaining more, like, what's the solution to getting past this time of, like, anger and feeling kind of spiritually stuck here, okay? Can you give me 3 cards explaining that, please? Thank you, for their highest best good. What advice would you give them? We have the moon, okay? The moon is all about illusions. What's real and what's not, okay? We have okay, so another major arcana, we have the Tower reversed. The Tower reversed is about either avoiding a disaster or something needs to fall but has not. And we have the Queen of Wands is about internal confidence. Okay, so they're saying the solution to this issue, pile number 2, is, okay, let's see. The illusions. You know, sorry, I'm kind of silent here. I just want to make sure I say it the right way. They're saying to me, pile number 2s, the times in our life where we gain the most confidence is from the times when we have the most to lose. And I know that sounds scary. I don't think it means that there's something bad that's going to happen, pile number 2, so don't run away from the reading going, no. But, because I think that the bad thing has already happened, hence the Wheel of Fortune reversed having been in the past position earlier from the first 5 tarot cards, right? But yeah, they're saying sometimes the greatest confidence is gained when we have a lot to lose, or like, yeah. They're almost saying, like, there's an illusion in our society regarding strength, and there's illusion in our society regarding confidence, okay? A lot of times we think confidence or confident people are people who always have it all together. Strong people are people who always have it all together. People who don't show any flaws or imperfections or struggles on the surface. But this ancestor of yours is saying, as a piece of advice on getting through this time of shaken faith and a lack of confidence, maybe even some anger at the universe, right? They're saying real strength is the strength that we gain. Or it's like the real strength is the strength of navigating lower times or times of disaster or times of hardship is the best way I can put that. And I say that because we have the moon as the first card, which is all about illusions, right? There's something here about the way you view strength and confidence that is an illusion, pile number 2. Okay? And so what they're telling you is the thing that you think you lack now internally, you know, emotionally, or is like a trait of yourself. The thing that you think you lack internally, it's an illusion. Because it's something that you actually have in spades. Okay? And that thing is related to how you navigate disaster here with the Tower reversed. So they're saying, you know, you might feel in the near future that King of Wands reversed earlier here of like, oh, I don't feel confident, I don't feel charismatic about things, I feel like I don't have my crap together, right? And so it shakes your faith because you're like, oh, the universe is throwing me a bad bone. Ugh. But the truth is that actually through this time of hardship, you are showing true internal strength here. The illusion is that you think that you don't have worth. The illusion is that you think you don't have strength. But you have strength in just enduring as you are every single day. And that's what they're telling you. So that is the piece of advice they want to give you in navigating this current issue in your life, okay? Especially in your future when your confidence feels shaken, okay? Because there's someone in their life who struggled with the same exact thing. And it was through realizing that they're strong because of the hardships they went through that they ascended spiritually or made progress spiritually. Okay, and that's what they're telling you is reflecting in your life as well. It's turning that judgment reversed here as the outcome right side up again. Is realizing the illusion in your life right now in terms of how you're navigating this disaster or this turn of bad luck or these hardships. And it's also an indication that they see you as strong, pile number 2. Okay, not only did you get the strength card earlier here, right? You're someone who has the ability to break free. You're someone who has the ability to break that cage, like we were saying earlier with the freedom card. And it's almost like I'm intuitively being told it's like making progress. It's like you feel like you're in a hamster wheel going around in circles, but actually you're stepping farther ahead and making more progress than you think you are. It's just that sometimes forward momentum feels like staying in place. And I think that's what's been frustrating you, pile number 2, but what they're saying is like, you are making strides. You are doing, like, you're not a failure, okay? You're not someone who, you're not a screw up. You're like, that was the thing that they struggled with in their life, okay? Everybody struggles. And part of being confident is realizing the illusion of what confidence actually is, what strength actually is, right? And that's what they want to leave you with today. So they're saying kind of reflect on that as you go through this situation, pile number 2. And reflect on their life, especially, if you recognize who this ancestor is, especially if they're a more recent one, that you're like, oh, hey, that sounds just like, insert uncle or aunt here or grandfather, whatever family member it might be. Or maybe it could be someone even more distant that you're not sure who this is, right? Reflect on their life, though, if you are familiar with them, and learn from their lessons, okay? Because I feel like they're really pertinent to what you're going through right now, and there's a lot of value and benefit to be gained and gleaned from that if you were to reflect more on whoever this person might be related to you, okay? And so, yeah, it's like facing your demons of self-worth, like they did. And realizing that there's an illusion blocking you, okay? So that's what I will leave you with today, my lovely pile number 2s. Thank you again for tuning in to this message. I always love doing ancestor readings. I don't do them enough. Maybe I'll do more in the future if if you guys like them and you're receptive to them, right? I always love tuning into those energies, and it's always a privilege to be able to connect with family energies, in my opinion. So yes, thank you so much for coming to this reading today. I wish you a wonderful rest of your day. Hope it was helpful, and I hope to see you in the next reading, pile number 2s. Okay? Bye. Hello there, my beautiful pile number 3s. Welcome to your pick a card reading today on the topic of, tuning into your ancestors and seeing what they want to say to you, what's most important for you to hear right now. As you recall, the card used to pick your pile today was the 10 of Pentacles from the Wild Reflections Tarot. So as always, when we choose with tarot decks, I like to just put it right back into the deck right away and shuffle and pull our tarot cards. So we'll do that right now. Already drew your oracle cards. We'll set those to the side. And let's gain the tarot card message from your ancestor, okay? So ancestor that's reaching out to pile number 3s today. Could you give me 5 different cards explaining more about what it is you want to say or who you are? Thank you. 5 cards for their highest, best good. Okay, we have 1 at least that already popped out. So we have death. Okay, don't run away from the reading. We're like, oh no, death. Usually does not mean actual death in tarot. Okay, let's see. Okay, for sure that one. Number 2. Number 3. 4 and number 5. Let's reveal your cards, pile number 3s. First up with the oracle cards. The first 2 are more about who this ancestor might be who's reaching out to you, and then the second 2 are more about the message. So let's try to kind of see who this is, right? From the Citadel Oracle, we have the Fate. Okay, accepting help and guidance. This is the alchemical symbol for fire here, so that could technically mean like a fire sign, someone with fiery energy, charismatic, passionate about things. Sometimes it means someone who's creative, and especially too with the vision here, or I should say the picture of like the sewing and the needle and the threads. I think of someone who might have been interested in creative passions regarding like sewing a lot, or like needlework or yarn work type things, crocheting, knitting, lace work, that type of thing. But someone, yeah, very creative, very fiery, passionate, someone maybe a fire sign, okay? And then, yeah, accepting help and guidance. Someone who kind of believed that life was what it was and you can't really change fate. They were very like a destiny-oriented person. Like, this too shall pass, or, well, that's just the way it has to be. Like, that kind of calming acceptance type energy from this person. Okay. Interesting. The fate. Yeah. Could be someone who's interested in sewing, a seamstress, a tailor, knitter, crochet, let's see. And then from the Archetypes cards, we have a student. Okay. Light attributes, humility and devotion to knowledge, openness to lifelong learning. Shadow attributes, arrogance in the pursuit of destructive knowledge, unwillingness to translate knowledge into action. Okay. So we also have someone that is very bright, pile number 3. Someone who's very curious seems like a main attribute of this ancestor. Someone who's open-minded, someone who likes to learn. Could have been someone who was reading all the time in their life, if you're familiar with this ancestor, if they were alive during the period that you've been alive, right? Someone who could have been also very family-oriented here, especially because this is a tree, right? And we think of families as like family tree. Could have been into ancestry work, too. Family-oriented, like I said. Yeah, someone who was smart, educated, and or if they weren't even officially educated, they were someone very wise. Always learning, always curious. Maybe sometimes even spouting off random fun facts. Like, hey, I learned this today. Yeah. Very passionate people. Making sure I'm not gleaning anything else before we show your other cards. Apologies for the silence. I also get the feeling they never really move far from home, though. Never move far from home. It's like that gentle acceptance of this is where I am, this is the way life is supposed to be, and this is how it should be. Very calm acceptance type person. Okay, let's reveal your other oracle cards. We have from the Ask Your Guides, Change. Someone inside a chrysalis, it looks like. Almost like a butterfly hatching. Transformation, rebirth, which is funny because you got the death card earlier, which I'll show again here. I believe that is also number 13. Yeah, number 13, change. 13 in death, 13 in change. So that's literally what death means in tarot, is rebirth, right? So that's why I said don't run away from the reading when I first pulled it. Okay, change. And then from the Vintage Wisdom Oracle, we received gentleness. So a softness, a gentleness. Going about something with subtlety or grace. Let's reveal your tarot cards and then we'll pull your message together here. So the first one from the Wild Reflections is the Two of Swords reversed. Feeling like we're having a struggle, making a choice. Number 2, we have the Four of Wands, celebration, sometimes happiness in the home. Happiness with family, happiness in our household. Sometimes happiness in our own body is how I read the Four of Wands at times. Celebration. Number 3, we have the Emperor reversed. Okay, this can be masculine energy in the negative. Too much controlling, or a lack of authority, a lack of control. Could it be a negative male masculine figure? Then we have the Queen of Pentacles, internal security with material things. Okay. Someone who is happy with what they have in terms of the things around us, earth, right? Or those qualities at least. And then, of course, we have the Death card that pulled out first. Death is a lot like your change card here. Number 13 seems to be a synchronicity, okay? Because death is 13 and we have 13 with change. Death is, rebirth. It's like, I wish almost they called it the Phoenix card, because I feel like a lot of times when we see death as humans, we have that initial, ugh, feeling because we think, oh, icky death, right? It's not an end, though. In tarot, it's literally a rebirth. It's like the phoenix rising from the ashes after it's destroyed itself, okay? It's a cycle. We even see it kind of here, and it almost looks like a tornado, a cycle of things, or the horses running around. Interesting. So apologies for one moment of silence as I adjust in my chair and look over your cards. Yeah. And I think the reason this ancestor is reaching out to you, pile number 3s, is because there's someone who, remember earlier when I said they were someone who very much so accepted their lot in life and they very much so accepted change. I think the reason why they're reaching out to you is because either you're struggling to accept change, or there is a change you're currently going through or that's coming, and they want to address that with you and give you the best tools necessary to navigate this time, okay? A time of change. Yeah, someone who just accepted things, yeah. And that's why, is they're embodying that message to you of, look at the way that I accepted change, the way that I went with the flow. And embody that in your own life is kind of what they're saying, And that, too, is just with the abundance of fire energy here. Like the fate here has the fire alchemical symbol. I also think of fire as the element of change, okay? Because it's something that, technically it destroys when you think of fire in a traditional meaning, but it's also something that can change the form of things, okay? We think of, even looking at the states of matter, I'm getting a little nerdy, geeky science here, but like when you have an ice cube and you expose it to heat, well, what does it do? It changes its phase of matter into water, and then even further from a liquid into a gas when it turns into steam with enough. So heat and fire, in terms of the way that it manifests in our life, is that element of change, that element of accepting the process of transitioning from one thing into another, okay? And that's what they want to tell you. This time of change in your life recently, pile number 3 is. And I feel like this change in your life, it's been something that steals your control, or it feels like it's arrested control from you. I think it was something to do with you hesitated to make a choice here with the 2 of Swords reversed. But even though you hesitated to make a choice, it seemed at first that things were going well, but now it just feels like things are kind of spiraling out of control here with the Emperor reversed being like the lack of control, lack of authority, right? And your future path here, the thing that they want to guide you to through the message of what they lived through, like their life lesson of accepting change, accepting fate, right? Is coming to the internal security of the Queen of Pentacles of, I'm okay with change. I'm okay with where I am. I'm secure is a great keyword for the Queen of Pentacles upright. And especially with death reversed here at the, upright, I should say, blah. Especially with death upright here at the end, the outcome of this situation is something is going to change, okay? Not only because, you got death, but you also got change, literally, okay? However, with especially your gentleness card here too, it's about navigating it too with more grace, with more of that like it says on the tin, gentleness, okay? Being okay with letting go of control. I feel like sometimes you struggle with, you don't like to fly into things blind, pile number 3s. You don't like to fly into things feeling like you can't control every little aspect. I feel like you might live life a little bit more like someone strategically thinking over a chessboard, like, okay, I have these items here, or these figures, these pawns, right? And I need to move my king here, I need to move my queen here, my, knight here, my pawn here, whatever, etc. I'm sorry, I'm not really that familiar with chess, so if I completely misrepresented that, feel free to correct me in the comments below, anyone familiar with chess. But you know what I mean? Like, you think of life very strategically about, okay, I make this move here, I make this move here, I can control this is the battlefield, this is the tactic I take, addressing this thing in the future, right? Change coming my way. But the lesson you're learning right now that this ancestor is reaching out to you about is you won't be able to tackle it with that mindset, pile number 3s. You can't tackle it logically. You can't tackle it tactfully. You can't think of it as a battlefield. It's something that's going to come, or maybe you're currently already going through, that's going to almost feel like a storm. And don't run away screaming from the reading, because I know we think of change and we think of, storms and we go, oh no, chaos, especially for those of you, like I said, who tend to be a little bit more like strategically minded. We like to control things here. But with that Emperor reversed, it's saying let go of control, or you're currently struggling with, oh no, I can't control what's going on. I feel like everything's out of my hands. What do I do? And this Ancestor is saying to you, pile number 3s, it's okay. Because like they said in their introduction here when we talked about the archetypes that came out, they're someone that accepted things as they came. Very go with the flow. Very, okay, that's the way fate has turned. And that's the card I was dealt. And I'm going to go with it and I'm going to run with it. And that's what they're telling you, is embodying more of that to ride this storm of change out a little bit more gently. Okay. Gentleness. Riding it with grace, okay? Because, like I said, we get that ick feeling when we think of change, because we think of chaos, especially, like I said, those of us who are more, I want to control everything minded, right? But change can bring a lot of good things, pile number 3s, and I think where this change is going is somewhere better for you. Kind of like the caterpillar going into the chrysalis here, and then becoming a butterfly. Yes, there is a period of chaos and technically destruction, right? Okay. Just like the phoenix example we used earlier. The phoenix has to burn. But what happens is that through that element of fire, right? That element of change, something better can rise from the chrysalis or the ashes, right? And that's what they want to navigate. I'm going to ask here, I only asked one question extra, I think, for both other piles today, or only like 2. I think I want to ask 2 with you today too, pile number 3s. I want to ask your Ancestor not only what is this change, and that I want more advice from them on how to navigate it for you, okay? Those are the questions I think I'm going to ask. So, Spirit, or I should say technically Ancestor of pile number 3s. For the first question, we want to ask, what is this change? Okay, can you give me 3 cards explaining more about exactly what this is? What's this chaos coming, this rebirth? Thank you. 3 cards for their highest best good. Okay, we have, looks like 2 already. Looks like the Ace of Cups reversed, and, oh boy, those went flying. We have the Ace of Cups reversed and Judgment. Okay, so Judgment is all about, sometimes can mean spiritual reflection, ascending spiritually, okay, moving a little bit forward on our spiritual path. And then the Ace of Cups reversed is like, can mean feeling like a lack of emotional connection in some area, or feeling like a lack of emotion in some aspect of your life. I'm going to grab one more card before it comes. Sometimes that one's a little bit more contextual based on the other cards around it. And this one for sure is kind of sticking out. We have this, okay, 3 of Swords. Yep. That's the card of pain, right? So this change, pile number 3s, is all about, yeah. So there is something painful coming. And once again, please don't run away from the reading. I know I want to give you rainbows and sunshine. I promise there's a good outcome. They were saying the changes for a good reason, okay? There's a little bit of pain coming here with the 3 of Swords, okay? That's literally what it means. It's like the arrow is going through the heart. Someone is in pain, okay? The change itself, though, is pain related to spiritual growth. And then, yeah, the Ace of Cups reversed is interesting. It's either something to do with your relationships, or something to do with your feelings. It's interesting. I'm sorry. I'm gonna ask more specifics here intuitively. Apologies just for a moment of silence. I'm gonna ask if they can explain more. 1 second. I'm gonna do some channeling here. They told me, this is weird, they told me it's something to do with you emotionally feeling, like UGH, like, it's something where, I wouldn't say it's necessarily, like, a really, like, ouchy painful, it's more painful in kind of a melancholy, is what they're saying with that Ace of Cups reversed. I know it's kind of funny to put it that way, but that's how they specifically told me here. And then with Judgment, it's like, the change is regarding, yeah, like spiritual reflection. It's like a melancholy with life. I feel like things, the pain is going to be like a dull one. And it's something to do with like you being kind of melancholy in life. And that's why the change coming in is good, pile number 3, is because it's going to elevate you more spiritually here with judgment and take away that feeling. Like, I don't know if you've recently been going through a time where you've felt kind of blah about life, or like melancholy was the word I used before. And so that's what caused this time of change. It was almost like you were asking for change. You're like, oh, I'm so sick of this, part of my life. And then now here comes the whirlwind from the universe being like, okay, here you go. You put the intention out here. Like, I mean, sometimes when you ask for it, it really comes, right? You're like, okay, universe, that's a little bit too intense. I didn't mean, But what your ancestor is saying here is that this is change for the good, pile number 3 is, okay? It's something that will take away that, feeling in your life, okay? Something that I feel like is gonna, it's almost like you've been kind of emotionally dead inside. And this is gonna change that. And that's why it's good for you. Okay? It's gonna take away that, interesting. I'm going to draw one more card of clarity here. Spirit Ancestor pile number 3s, could you give me one more card explaining like what the change is? I mean, I know for a general reading, everyone's going to be a bit different, but like I know we talked about emotional discontentment. Okay, that one almost flipped out. This is an interesting reading. Okay, 2 of Wands. Planning for the future. I feel like it's your direction in life, pile number 3s. You're about your direction in life. I feel like you're stagnant where you are and you've been wanting change real badly deep down. It's just that maybe you've had some kind of fear about making the step, but you've been asking for the change deep down on a spiritual level, and now the universe comes here with this cyclone of change being like, okay, you asked for it and then, so what your ancestor is sorry, it's kind of a funny way to put it, but what your ancestor is reaching out about is saying, okay, yeah, that change is coming. And part of that lesson is to learn to let go of the illusion of control, right? Navigating change gracefully with gentleness, okay? But it's a change that is necessary and it's good for you, and it's something deep down that you've been asking for, pile number 3s, okay? So whatever it is recently that you've been asking for change in your life for, especially when it comes to future plans where you intend to go into the future, could be, career, could be relationships. Wherever you've been emotionally discontent and felt stagnant and melancholy and about, right? That's where the change is coming. That's where that little cyclone is like, here comes the change. And then you have to sit there and be like, oh no, I've lost control. But in the end, it's good for you because it's a lesson in letting go of control, and it's changing your life for the better. That's what your ancestor is reaching out to you about, okay? And then what was the other question I wanted to ask? Because we asked about what the change was. I think it was their advice on navigating the change. Because we already talked about like letting go of the illusion of control, but I think I want to glean more nitty-gritty in that area for you. So ancestor of pile number 3s, could you explain more advice specifically on navigating this time of change, okay? The cyclone, as we call it. The cyclone of change, right? 3 cards, please, for their highest best good. And yeah, there might be some growing pains. Oh, okay, well, there it comes. 3 cards. There might be some growing pains, pile number 3s, regarding the change. I'm not going to say it's like I'm not going to sugarcoat and say it's going to be like the easiest change in the world. But, most of the time change isn't easy at all. So, and it's for the good is what they're emphasizing to you. So advice, we have the Fool reversed, we have the 9 of Cups reversed, and we have the 5 of Pentacles reversed, okay? So the Fool reversed is about being wary of taking risks, okay? And then the 9 of Cups reversed is about, it was kind of that emotional discontentment we were talking about before. And then the 5 of Pentacles reversed is about overcoming a time of lack or a time of poverty. Especially represented by the figure here who's walking out in the cold when there's a warm cabin nearby. So one moment, I'm gonna ask a little bit more here. Sorry for the silence. Okay, so they said buckle down. They have a really good sense of humor, whoever this is. They said buckle down, pile number 3s. That's kind of where the full reversed is coming here. It's the card of being wary of taking risks. So yes, there's change coming, but there's no need to do anything risky or drastic to either avoid the change, because maybe that impulse to control and think of life like a chessboard might come in and you're like, oh god, I gotta control this, oh no. And so maybe you take like a complete leap out of the way of the change of, or the cyclone of change, and like that was kind of bad too. Buckle down, stay in place. Okay, that's what they're saying to you, especially too with gentleness. Navigate it gracefully. Okay, so be wary of taking risks during this time. Accept the change. Don't do anything drastic to avoid it, okay, is what they're saying. They're also saying, you know, during that time you might still kind of feel a bit of that emotional discontentment, but the advice here is it's going to be lifting you out of a poverty of some sorts here with the 5 of Pentacles reversed. And that could literally mean it's a change in your like career or money. So literally like the Pentacles, material wealth, in terms of, okay, this is going to get you to a better career or a better job. Or it could literally mean getting you out of a poverty of emotional discontentment here, especially being next to the 9 of Cups reversed, okay? You're going to get rid of that feeling, okay, is what they're saying. It's just, yeah, you might kind of feel it a little bit during that time. And you might feel like, but there at least will be a sensation of, okay, I'm crawling out of this hole I've been stuck in. Okay, the change is great. Yeah, I gotta be worried about, you know, don't take too many risks. Don't jump out of the way of the change so drastically that it causes other issues, right? But yeah. So yeah, don't take risks. Weather through some of the okay. Yeah. I'm going to see if there's any other channeled messages. Apologies once again for just a moment of silence here. They're almost saying that it'll be refreshing, and I know that sounds weird, but it's like you're going to feel more alive than you have in recent years because of this. And that's also like a positive aspect of it. Like feeling alive again. And I think that's where that rebirth imagery comes in, especially with the emphasis on, you had not only number 13 change here with this Oracle card, you had death, which means change in tarot, number 13, right? That rebirth we talked about before with, you know, the phoenix or, you know, the butterfly, right? Dying to ashes and being reborn as something new. Sometimes to make way for the future, we have to burn down the past, okay? And so it's like that rebirth of being willing to let it fall so that you can build it back up again. It's almost like the Tower message in tarot, but not quite. Yeah. So, you know, all in all, pile number 3 is, you know, don't run away from this reading being fearful, okay? Because they're saying the change is for a really good reason, okay? It's something that's going to take away emotional discontentment and melancholy in your life. It's something deep down, I think, that you've been asking for, even at least maybe just subconsciously. And it's going to take away in your life, as they put it. I'm sorry I keep saying it that way. It's just kind of funny, but and your lesson here is to let go of the illusion of control, to accept that cyclone of change, just like they did. Someone who was very accepting and open-minded to, well, this is what fate has played out for me, and I'm going to ride these winds, and I'm gonna take my sails, and I'm gonna let the winds of change guide me where they will, right? That type of mentality, that philosophy of life, right? Just buckle down a bit and weather down. It's, you know, kind of like when a tornado comes by, you quick run into the cellar and you let it go by, and then you come back out afterwards. Just careful about taking risks right now, or at least when this time comes, right? And everything's going to be just fine. So that's what I'll leave you with today, my lovely pile number 3s. You know, as always, thank you for coming to my readings. I always love doing ancestor readings. They're one of my favorite types to do. Very much a privilege to be able to connect to your ancestor energy and read for you today. So thank you for that. I wish you a wonderful rest of your day. Hope it was helpful. And I hope to see you in the next reading, pile number 3s. Bye.